Hello, Knights and Amazons. Welcome to the Semperquis Saber channel. I'm Wes, and in today's video, I finally bring you the complete Chapter 1 of the official Heaven Saga of Knights of the Zodiac. This saga is the canonical continuation of the story of Seiya and his friends, and is being created by the original author, Masami Kurumada. Chapter 1 has just been officially released in Japan, and besides this chapter, we will have 5 more chapters published later this year. Get your popcorn, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive into this awesome video. The final saga of Knights of the Zodiac has begun. Saint Seiya Tenkai-hen, Phase 1, Fading Memories. The sun shines over the 12 Zodiac houses, but the air in the sanctuary is filled with a strange and melancholic tranquility. What could be happening now in this sacred place where Cosmo usually burns intensely? The sanctuary is practically abandoned. A solitary figure walks among the ruins. This is Saori Kido, the reincarnation of the goddess Athena, who has just regained her memories in the house of Sagittarius. She descends the stairs. Stone sands worn by time, surrounded by immense rocks and the blue sky, which seems to watch her every step. Saori stops for a moment and looks at the sanctuary's fire clock. It is extinguished. What is Saori thinking in this place? The wind blows, but something seems to be lost. Suddenly, Saori is startled. An expression of confusion appears on her face. Her eyes, once emotional and filled with tears, now reflect a sudden inner worry. She is desperate. Saori puts her hand to her face as if trying to remember something. She breaks out in a cold sweat. In her mind, fragmented images appear. Her memories are jumbled. She sees the image of young warriors who gave their lives for her. But the images start to flicker like an old film that's falling apart. Saori vaguely remembers some people like Hyoga, Aphrodite, Mu, Shura, Aiolos, Sei, Artemis, Hades, Apollo, Poseidon, Ikki, Shiryu, Aldebaran, and Camus. Many of them are disappearing from her mind. Saori said, "But what? Again? My memories are disappearing again. Those of the nights that I had started to remember. Athena's memories. The goddess of war and wisdom finds herself in a cruel trap. The more she tries to reconnect with her past and with her knights, the more the Seal of Forgetfulness, created by Apollo, seems to want to erase their existence from her mind. It's as if her memories have become images that are being torn apart and carried away by the wind. As the memories of Seiya and the others disappear from Saori's mind, we are taken to the threshold between dimensions. There exists a place of absolute silence and isolation, and that is Purgatory. Situated between the eternal radiance of the Elysian Fields, which is paradise, and the depths of hell, where the sins of the living world are purified, this is Purgatory. The place is completely destroyed, being practically an empty dimension, where we see rocks and ruins floating in the middle of the universe. What was once a structure of judgment for the souls of the living is now nothing more than floating rocks and the ruins of a forgotten temple under a cosmic sky. However, from the shadows of the cosmos, a purple light takes over the place, and someone walking through the void begins to appear. With majestic wings and armor that shines with the color of the night, a figure of overwhelming power emerges. The one who appears wearing a surplice from Hades' army is Kerr, the evil goddess. She floats above the remains of Purgatory and spots a stone ruin, while observing the total destruction of the Underworld. The goddess Kerr said, "It's just as I expected. Purgatory is in the same condition. It has been reduced to nothing, just like the Elysian Fields in Hell. Even though only a few ruins remain compared to the other parts of the Underworld. Maybe it's because this place wasn't part of the battlefield where the fight against Athena's army happened." However, suddenly the goddess is surprised. She notices something on top of those ruins. She wonders what it is, and as she gets closer, realizes that it's the surplice of the terrestrial star of the Hound. This is a surplice which represents the two-headed dog, and it was intact. Kerr approaches the object and says, "If we're talking about the specter of the terrestrial star of the Hound, that would be Antigone. Wake up, Orthro, right?" Kerr then has an idea and says, "If the surplice is intact, maybe it's possible." The evil goddess raises her staff to the sky, concentrating a great amount of Cosmo, and with a shout she commands, "Wake up, Orthro! Awaken!" Under the pressure of this command, the surplice shatters into dozens of pieces, which fly and summon their host, joining to his body in a flash of Cosmo. It seems the specter was sleeping, and Kerr then asks, "Orthro, are you awake?" She approaches, and the specter finally opens his eyes. He is startled to see the powerful Cosmo of the goddess Kerr, and upon seeing her, he says, "Are you Lady Kerr?" Confused about the situation in the Underworld and Hades' army, the specter asks, Where the hell have you been until now?" The goddess then replies, "My duty was to carry out certain measures before the start of the battle, to lead Hades' army to victory. I have carried out all those measures. Perfectly, once victory was assured, I went to sleep. Orthro gets worried he was breaking out in a cold sweat. Kerr then explains to me, that's it. When I woke up and saw what had happened, I couldn't believe the crushing defeat that Hades' army suffered. Not only Lord Hades and the 108 specters under his command, but also the Underworld and the Elysian fields. Everything indicates that they were annihilated. We see the vast destruction happening in the Underworld. Everything was disintegrating. Everything indicates that the natural process of resurrection seems impossible at the moment. Kerr observes that in the face of such an unprecedented defeat, the Underworld would take at least 1,000 years to fully resurrect and recover. Kerr said, "This doesn't make sense. Even though I was sleeping, why was I the only one left? And why were you able to awaken just now? It doesn't make sense." Orthro then replies, "It must be the sign of the resurrection of Hades' army." Kerr replies, "No, that won't happen yet. Everything is still destroyed." While reflecting on the state of that place and her situation, Kerr thought both Lord Hades and the other specters, the Underworld and the Elysium, are absolutely nothing. But even so, I feel that for some reason Athena's power is weakening. Kerr visualizes an image of Athena's statue starting to crack. Both the statue, its shield, and the statue of the goddess Nike in Athena's hand crack completely, and they simply explode. Kerr is surprised. That is a sign, a drastic change in the currents of destiny. The statue of Athena, which is the symbol of her protection over the earth, suddenly exploded into 1,000 pieces before Kerr's spiritual vision. So she reacts with absolute shock. No, it can't be. The specter Orthro observes the goddess but doesn't understand what happened. Kerr then, in a cold sweat, concludes in his mind, it's not that Athena's power is weakening. Has Athena herself, Athena's very existence, by any chance disappeared completely? The news shakes the specter, who can't understand how an eternal deity could simply cease to exist. He asked, "Has Athena disappeared? Miss Kerr, what does this mean?" Kerr, still shaken, replies, "I don't know. It's not possible that Athena has disappeared, because, first of all, she is a goddess who possesses eternal life. However, there is no doubt that something happened to Athena after this holy war. Therefore, this is an unexpected opportunity. Due to Athena's absence, the effect of the goddess's power will disappear completely. This doesn't just mean that the Underworld will resurface. The earth that we have longed for since the mythological era will, for the first time, belong to Lord Hades." At this moment, Kerr envisions the earth being dominated by Hades. Along with him are his brothers Thanatos and Hypnos, Pandora, the three judges, and the other specters of Hades. While the fate of the world is sealed by Kerr's evil vision, we now return to Greece, where calmness hides a silent tragedy in the village of Rodorio. Saori walks alone among the ruins after leaving the sanctuary. She is completely confused, but at this moment someone appears. The thread of fate, perhaps an irony of the gods, begins to appear. A young man walks toward her, carrying the hat that the wind had taken. This is Seiya, the Pegasus Knight who is now without his memories. He calls the girl as if she were a stranger. Seiya shows the hat and says, "Wait, miss, you dropped this." Seiya and Saori, the former pillars of hope for Earth, have just met again under the Greek sky. But there is no recognition in their eyes, only the silence of a past that was cruelly erased from their minds. My friends, what an exciting chapter. In my opinion, Kurumada managed to surprise us quite a bit at the start of the Heaven Saga. We really had some unexpected events. And in my opinion, this raises the expectations even more for the next chapters of the Heaven Saga. Masami Kurumada also left a final message saying, Tengai, the Tenkai-hen saga finally begins. As before, it will be a saga at my own pace. However, I will do my best, so please support me. I truly believe that Kurumada intends to do the best work possible in this saga. After all, I have high hopes that everything will go well and be epic. And you, what did you think of this first chapter? What are your theories for the continuation? Leave a comment to let me know. And of course, thank you for watching this video until the end. See you next time. Burn your Cosmo to infinity!